class, I don't have a lesson.
Alright, let's move. Good evening. I'm Know Nothing Attorney. I know nothing, so you can too. Let's try it down a little bit. Because it's only in embracing that we know nothing that we can actually learn anything. That's what we're here to do. I think ultimately my goal would be to learn how to break through, how to get through to conservatives. If only we could find a way. You have to reboot their ability to think critically about things they hear from people that they trust and figure out why they trust them. Oh. Can't just type in my Discord while I'm doing stream. Especially right when I start. Evening, Maddie. It's an interesting conversation happening in Discord about the efficacy of constitutionalism as compared to state-owned corporations. Not sure what to think about that. How do we decide who's in the state? I guess. My concern. Because something like what's being promoted in the Discord is a system like China's, and China has a one-party system, and that seems very concerning to me. How are things going on your end, Maddie? Want to bring up not that one. This one. That's the one. What? Oh, this is why I'm having issues. You can't post pictures on the Discord? I guess we're still dealing with the aftermath of the trolls. Let's see. Embed links. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. Good on you making him some soup. What's going on, Sock now? I'm trying to figure out how to let Maddie post pictures in the Discord. I mean, I didn't really get to... Paraday's group was great. I think Paraday like hopped in and then bailed. So I didn't really get to talk with them. I need to make you a moderator in the Discord too. I need to make some notes about things I need to do. I'm not sure if that lets you put pictures in. I guess we can find out. There we go. Well, sure, but I just don't think that I trust the state to own corporations. I think that's putting too much power in the hands of the state. Anyway. Can somebody teach me the pros and cons of a state-owned economy? It's not one I've had to talk with, like, supporters of, really. Okay. I need to add a window. Huh. Not that one. That's the one. There's that too, not just the state, but the most powerful and connected state actors. Yeah. I don't understand what's the harm in allowing individuals to get together to create corporations that the state doesn't own. Seems a little kind of a cooperative system. I think that certain industries do need to be nationalized, like healthcare and utilities. For sure. Anything that is required to live, I think, definitely needs to be run by the state. Okay. So, continuing my list from yesterday. Let's get a legislative one in there. What's the word I'm looking for? Divestiture? just keep it simple. You just do cooperatives for the rest, or put it up for the stock market, allow it to be entirely ran by retail. What's up, evil alien robot? Ooh, I don't know if I'm up for economics tonight. You mean what? Executive, legislative, and judicial? There just isn't nearly as much under legislative. Oh my god. Sure. I mean, we could even probably break down the executive grievances down into subcategories. But here I was just thinking, like, I think I need a way to demonstrate which of these are, like, current and present threats because of the current administration. So that would just be all of these things. We have personal vendettas against law firms. Threatening funding to universities. For speech. I guess I could just say protected speech. Threatening to universities? Threatening funding. Weaponizing the SCOTUS. The majority leader apparently can just not do their job. Yeah. Which aspect are you talking about with the majority leader just not doing their job? Like not seating elected representatives? And when you say weaponizing SCOTUS, what are you talking about? Super PACs. Let's do that. And what aspect are you talking about of their job? Right. specifically for not not acting on the advice and consent part. Sure. Advice and consent. Okay. Put Shelby County. Which case was that? Oh, that's the one criminalizing homelessness, or allowing states to criminalize it. I believe that SCOTUS needs to be electoral. I agree with that. Term limits, age limits. Term limits, age limits. Getting, yeah. God, ending Voting Rights Act protections. Oh, yeah. Okay. Hate having to constantly change this. There you go. Granting constitutionality of two provisions of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, Section 5, which requires certain states and local governments to obtain federal pre-clearance before implementing any changes to their voting laws or practices. And subsection B of Section 4, which contains the coverage formula that determines which jurisdictions are subject to pre-clearance based on their histories of racial discrimination in voting. Ah. On June 25th, 2013, the court ruled by a 5-4 vote that Section 4B was unconstitutional because the coverage formula was based on data over 40 years old, making it no longer responsive to current needs and therefore an impermissible burden on the constitutional principles of federalism and equal sovereignty of the states. Wow. Couldn't you have just updated the data? I mean, I guess it wouldn't be nearly as demonstrative considering that those protections were in place. Right, you did send me the Charter of EU Human Rights. I meant to read that. I meant to look at that on stream. So... time to fix this again. Politically purging military leadership. Politically purging the administrative state. Thereby crippling it forever. Okay, let's look back at Discord. Where was that? There it is. All right, I'm curious about this one. Not that long of a document, even. The peoples of Europe, in creating an ever closer union among them, are resolved to share a peaceful future based on common values. Conscious of its spiritual and moral heritage, the union is founded on the indivisible universal values of human dignity, freedom, equality, and solidarity. It is based on the principles of democracy and the rule of law. It places the individual at the heart of its activities by establishing the citizenship of the Union and by creating an area of freedom, security, and justice. The Union contributes to the preservation and to the development of these common values while respecting the diversity of the cultures and traditions of the peoples of Europe, as well as the national identities of the member states and the organization of their public authorities at national, regional, and local levels. It seeks to promote balanced and sustainable development and ensures free movement of persons, goods, services, and capital, and the freedom of establishment. To this end, it is necessary to strengthen the protection of fundamental rights in the light of changes in society, social progress, and scientific and technological developments by making those rights more visible in a charter. This charter reaffirms, with due regard for the powers and tasks of the community and the Union, and the principle of subsidiarity, the rights as they result in particular from the constitutional traditions and international obligations common to the member states, the Treaty on European Union, the Community Treaties, the European Convention for the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, the social charters adopted by the Community and by the Council of Europe, and the case law of the Court of Justice of the European Communities and of the European Court of Human Rights. Enjoyment of these rights entails responsibilities and duties with regard to other persons, to the human community, and to future generations. The Union therefore recognizes the rights, freedoms, and principles set out hereafter. My big want for SCOTUS is to have 12 justices plus 1 chief justice. Each justice is region locked with 1 per court system across the country. What do you mean they're region locked? You mean that's where they can come from? Susu Studio? That'd break the Federalist Society death grip on justices in the Ivy League law schools to DC circuit pipeline. So I think for now I just want to put this as executive appointment. I think that itself is a failure, and how we want to address that is something we can worry about later. We need, what was I wanting to put here? Oh. No accountability for the state making untrue proclamations to the people. There needs to be some kind of cause of action for that. I think we need to address causes of action in general. Okay, back to this. Dignity. Human dignity. Human dignity is inviolable. It must be respected and protected. I am curious about how they're going to address this. Right. Do you mean that justices have to come from those circuits? Everyone has the right to life. No one shall be condemned to the death penalty or executed. Okay. Everyone has the right to respect for his or her physical and mental integrity. In the fields of medicine and biology, the following must be respected in particular: the free and informed consent of the person concerned according to the procedures laid down by the law, prohibition of eugenic practices, in particular those aiming at the selection of persons, the prohibition on making the human body and its parts as such a source of financial gain, and the prohibition of the reproductive cloning of human beings. Why? What is the concern with reproductive cloning? I mean, if it's with the person's consent. Yeah, it would make sure that, like, the different regions are represented. That makes sense to me. The size of the court definitely hasn't changed with the times. There are different types of eugenics, by the way. Yeah, the issue is it goes back to the eugenics portion. They don't want people discriminating. It's also a good way to expand the court without just basically packing the yeah. I made an argument back when I was on Facebook back in, what was that, 2016, about how it could, there were avenues for, like, expanding the court back then without it making it a whole political mess. Could have been done. Well, yeah, sure, like just assign that to the 13th Circuit, yeah. How would I want to categorize something about, like, treatment of U.S. territories, treatment of native peoples, I guess representation. I don't feel qualified to speak on native issues, but I definitely get the feeling from the state of the economic welfare of native peoples that the federal government is somehow failing them in that way. I don't have enough knowledge on that. What do y'all think about incorporation or liberation of territories? I don't feel like territories are something that should exist in the modern world. As a person speaking from a territory, I'd rather U.S. have our elections done by the United Nations rather than the United States, so that there's no influence on the incorporation or liberation. Hmm. Is Trump sort of stating that Greenlanders could be granted full citizenship? I imagine he is, because he assumes they're white. Yeah, that's definitely a problem. Maddie, I don't know if you saw, but I removed the word alleged value from conservative values in stream title. Oh, back to this. Individual rights. Failure to recognize the right to privacy. I think they're being pitched becoming a state, which is crazy because isn't it like the size of a quarter of the United States? Well, now I'm curious, who has more people, Greenland or Wyoming? $587,000. Yikes. Greenland has 56,000 people. I think that there must be a policy for the United States to push this upon the United Nations to fulfill that election right. Now you're seeing that it will be a territory. The GOP definitely doesn't want Greenland to become a state because Greenland would forever vote Tim. Yeah, that's true. That's not happening. Yeah, you're right. Go to the embassy of Denmark to fight for Greenland if they do end up asking for volunteers. Man. That's admirable of you. Okay, what were we? Okay, right to the integrity of the person. Prohibition of torture and inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. It's like I have to. Come on, camera. Come on, camera. I have to restrain myself as to like what things do I want to put in here that are just like my own personal feelings and what would be like more broadly supported. Oh, how about this? How did this change size? Failure to fully abolish slavery. That's a problem. I think one problem is the Bill of Rights attempt to codify people's rights with single sentences. Like, I feel like some of this stuff could have done with more explanation for what they meant. But then I guess they didn't have like a lot of experience with like how do we enshrine individual rights that you can't see the screen. Why? Like the window I'm working on? Window I'm working on should be visible. Okay. This is the one I just added. No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. No one shall be required to perform forced or compulsory labor. Trafficking in human beings is prohibited. Can't believe I have to put this in here. Well, yeah, definitely. If it's one side or the other, then I would do the same thing. Yeah, yeah. Little did they know that the ones that they did listed might fall off a cliff. Like just the complete illiteracy on the right against establishment of religion. Okay, so this is a positive right. I mean, I guess it could be framed as a negative right. Negative right, negative right, negative right. Negative right. Negative right, negative right, negative right, negative right. Wow, this is... Everyone has the right to liberty and security of person. What do you mean? What does that mean? I don't care if they start having court-martials. No, I'm not doing this. Yeah. Whew. Watch Trump just start drafting. Oh gosh, now this is, wow, what happened? What is going on with my window size? I don't understand. I feel like it's changing when I'm not looking. Is it good now? Light Spectre and YouTube chat. I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Maddie, can you see the right side of the document now? You've been napping and going out? Well, that's good. I've been napping too. Haven't been doing much going out. I've been a shut-in for the past couple weeks because I think I've cracked Deltarune, and I'm preparing to make a theory video on Deltarune so as to draw more traffic to this channel. They're talking about the right to property, and they're looking at the right to not life, but the right to secure life. It would be equivalent to the Second Amendment. And Light Spectre, that has been like a whole rabbit hole. Cool. Failure to provide rights to personal right to data. Personal rights to data. Or I guess rights to personal data. What? Why does this keep changing? That. No? Why does it keep changing? Oh, because I'm going back and forth between two different things. Okay, what I need to do is pop out this window and make a separate screen for that. What? Okay. So now if I fix this up, there we go. Nice. And now I can alternate. Data is a private property. I don't understand why corporations seek to steal private property. That's what they're doing. Because they can profit off it and sell it to various companies and countries because number go up. Yep. It's like profiting off stealing somebody's microwave that they stole in your house. Yeah. Alright, back to this one. Everyone has the right to respect for his or her private and family life, home, and communications. I don't know what that means. Respect for their communications? Like, their communications to not be monitored? Oh god, don't even get me started on Ring cameras. Ugh. Everyone has the right to the protection of personal data concerning him or her. Such data must be processed fairly or specified for specified purposes, and on the basis of the consent of the person concerned or some other legitimate basis laid down by law. Everyone has the right of access to data which has been collected concerning him or her, and the right to have it rectified. Hey, you know what I think? I think we should have certain baselines for consumer contracts. We should know what our standard, what our standard protections are in contracts, and then I think the corporations should be required to note any deviations from standard protections, and like make those like bolded in specific sections so that like consumers can go, okay, where does this contract deviate from standard protections in terms of like data and data usage? That way, like, we can know if we can just scroll a contract, you know? I don't think consumers should be required to have an understanding of like what even is a legitimate contract. Like, most consumers wouldn't know that. Roomba just got sold to a shady company? Oh my god. Oh my god. But isn't, like, under current law, Maddie, isn't that what a contract is? By signing the contract, you are agreeing to all of the provisions therein? Compliance with these rules shall be subject to control by an independent authority. Cool. The right to marry and the right to found a family shall be guaranteed in accordance with the national laws governing the exercise of these rights. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others, and in public or in private, to manifest religion or belief in worship, teaching, practice, and observance. The right to conscientious objection is recognized in accordance with the national laws governing the exercise of this right. What's what? The right of conscientious objection? Consumer contracts should include the right to opt in only by consumers. Oh, I think I understand what you mean. Do you mean like there is a standard contract that consumers can then choose to like be added into? So it's like visible and the same for everyone? Everyone has the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. The freedom and pluralism of the media shall be respected. I'm trying to think how to frame like my concern with, well, say the one's right that we don't have within the United States Constitution is Trump forced the media to do what he wants that infringes on the right to a pluralistic media. Yeah. I was wanting to say something about the amount of control, like the fact that we can't rely on televised news anymore, but I don't know how to grapple with that one. Address that one later. But golf, what happened? Any news show or channel calling itself news must follow a standard set of news requirements. Yeah, if not, it cannot be called news. Agreed, agreed. Okay. Freedom of expression and information. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and to freedom of association at all levels, in particular in political, trade union, and civic matters, which implies the right of everyone to form and to join trade unions for the protection of his or her interests. Political parties at union level contribute to expressing the political will of the citizens of the union. That's just a statement. Okay. The arts and scientific research shall be free of constraint. Academic freedom shall be respected. I think that's an important one. I mean, a lot of what I'm putting in rights should also be put in legislative and judicial, I imagine. So I guess that needs to be split between who's responsible for it. And I mean, I guess the Constitution. So it needs to be divided between the legislative, the judicial, and the Constitution. Is it the Hartley-Taft? I mean, if we're going to draft this into an actual declaration, then every grievance needs to be separately listed against every party involved. That way we're not understating anybody's accountability. Everyone has the right to education and to have, see, there's a positive right. The right includes the possibility to receive free compulsory education. The freedom to found educational establishments with due respect for democratic principles, and the right of parents to ensure the education and teaching of their children in conformity with their religious, philosophical, and pedagogical convictions shall be respected in accordance with the national laws governing the exercise of such freedom and right. Sure. Freedom to choose an occupation and right to engage in work. Everyone has the right to engage in work and to pursue a freely chosen or accepted occupation. After a little bit longer, I'm going to call it a night. Need to reset this week with some good rest. Freedom to conduct business, right to property. Everyone has the right to own, use, dispose of, and bequeath his or her lawfully acquired possessions. No one may be deprived of his or her possessions except in the public interest, and in the cases and under the conditions provided for by law, subject to fair compensation being paid in good time for their loss. The use of property may be regulated by law insofar as is necessary for the general interest. Intellectual property shall be protected. Man. I think bequeathing property is a crime. Free compulsory, yeah. Right to asylum. Collective expulsions are prohibited. No one may be removed, expelled, or extradited to a state where there is a serious risk that he or she would be subjected to the death penalty, torture, or other inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. That's oh. Switch back over. Nope. There. Everyone is equal before the law. Any discrimination based on any ground such as sex, race, color, ethnic, or social origin, genetic features, language, religion, or belief, political or any other opinion, membership of a national minority, property, birth, disability, age, or sexual orientation shall be prohibited. Yeah, we don't need any more of this anti-immigrant rhetoric. Yeah. What if after 50 years a territory will either have a vote to become a state or let go completely? I mean, we've got territories in here. I think when it comes to like 50 years, like, then we're just getting specific. Sock now has feelings about that. The Union shall respect cultural, religious, and linguistic diversity. Equality between men and women must be ensured in all areas, including employment, work, and pay. The principle of equality shall not prevent the maintenance or adoption of measures providing for specific advantages in favor of the underrepresented sex. I think we can just put lies. Just put lies here under executive. That, I mean, we don't have to put only unconstitutional things in here. That is a failing of the executive branch. Also of the legislative branch. One electoral system that is not biased to one country. That's why I'm saying the UN is responsible here after their mess of pushing it to the United States, because the United States. So, wait, are you saying you're not opposed to such a vote? You just don't want the US to run it? What? Sock, now I feel like you're not being very clear. Children shall have the right to such protection and care as is necessary for their well-being. They may express their views freely. Such views shall be taken into consideration on matters which concern them in accordance with their age and maturity. I like protecting a child's right to express their views freely. What does that mean, though? Like, are we going to investigate parents' actions to determine whether or not those actions are in response to a child voicing their views. In all actions relating to children, whether taken by public authorities or private institutions, the child's best interest must be primary consideration. Every child shall have the right to maintain on a regular basis, a personal relationship and direct contact with both his or her parents, unless that is contrary to his or her interests. Apparently, we also have to enshrine the right to remove yourself from a marriage in a constitution. I don't understand the idea of wanting to continue to be a territory at all. The Union recognizes and respects the rights of the elderly to lead a life of dignity and independence. Workers' right to information and consultation within the undertaking. Right of collective bargaining and action. Workers and employers or their respective organizations have, in accordance with the community law and national laws and practices, the right to negotiate and conclude collective agreements at the appropriate levels, and in cases of conflicts of interest, to take collective action to defend their interests, including strike action. Oof. Ooh. Everyone has the right of access to a free placement service. There's a positive right. Wow. Every worker has the right to working conditions which respect his or her health, safety, and dignity. I'm gonna... A right to strike? What is this? The family shall enjoy legal, economic, and social protection. To reconcile family and professional life, everyone shall have the right to protection from dismissal for a reason connected with maternity, and the right to paid maternity leave and to parental leave following the birth or adoption of a child. Hey look, prohibition of child labor. It's one I listed earlier. Everyone has the right of access to preventive health care and the right to benefit from medical treatment under the conditions established by national laws and practices. A high level of human health protection shall be ensured in the definition and implementation of all union policies and activities. The union recognizes and respects the entitlement to Social Security benefits and social services, providing protection in cases such as maternity, illness, industrial accidents, dependency, or old age. The Union recognizes and respects access to services of general economic interest as provided for in national laws and practices in accordance with the treaty establishing the European Community. A high level of environmental protection and the improvement of the quality of the environment must be integrated into the policies of the Union. Union policies shall ensure a high level of consumer protection. Right to vote. Right to good administration. Right to petition. Oh, silly me. Did I already include that? Let me see. What? Oh, yep. Violating court orders. Threatening judges with impeachment. U.S. having control over that electoral process, it doesn't give the organization component needed to unify with other nations, because if there's the choice to be with another country, it would allow a smooth transition. There has to be that organizational component. If we were our own country, we already have our own stuff. But if we're talking about unifying with another country, there has to be an organizational component. That's why I'm pushing for a UN host of elections for here. Down here, also need gerrymandering. Also need voter registration protections, or automatic voter registration. Okay, that does that for now. And then just before I go to bed, let's just see what's going on.
Do they even have the, like, it's freezing today?
What I'm told is they've been taken, no, they don't have the
Migrants
right
released
clothes,
from federal
in some
detention,
ways,
forced into the
actually attacking
frost,
us,
facing
because,
potential death marches into the cold? What the fuck?
You don't last very long, so. But basically, I'm told they've been taking IDs if they're brown, and then also phones no matter what. So we try to get them burner phones, things like that, get them a ride, whatever they need. So
what do you think of these tactics?
it's just, it doesn't feel right, man. I don't. How do you? I don't even want to entertain an argument. It's just like you think about these kind of two-way fetish people. Here's your moment. This isn't small government. I know that. So.
Here's somebody saying that this tracks with what they've heard from other facilities.
Thank you for the work you're doing. How many people have you helped so far?
I know of someone who was taken to Texas the other week from Minnesota and was ordered to be released by a judge. In this person's case, they released meant they were allowed to walk out the door in Texas. Their ID and wallet were still in Minnesota, or at the very least not returned to them in Texas. It was an, okay, you're free to leave this door.
beautiful country in a lot of ways.
Just
and we want
dropped in the
don't
middle
see
of
us
nowhere.
staying that way unless people stand up.
Yeah. It's a cold day. You could be on your couch watching a football game, your
Yeah,
feet up.
That's exactly what I'd be doing, to be honest. But it's who else is going to do it? At this point, it's not the police. We need the people.
What's your name again?
Jack.
Jack.
Yes.
Come here, brother.
Yes. I appreciate you.
That
as
is
well.
that's what people need to do, man. You're amazing. That's what people do. Oh, this really upsets you. Why?
It's, you know, you don't want people to die. You don't want. That's a tough one for me. But it just seems so clear. It's not right. It used to be like, oh, you're going too far with these Nazi references. Now it's like, Jesus, how do you not make those comparisons? You know, I don't know. I used to try to stay away from that. It escalates things, but it's just a trip looking out here. I don't know how to take it in, you know, stomach it, the whole deal. So.
Well, you're doing, but you have to be willing to sacrifice something.
Did I hear the
You are.
DOJ is going after Don Lemon? No, I didn't hear that.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Don.
God
Appreciate it.
bless you. Thank you. Thank you. And but you guys have helped folks, right? And you get them.
This group has.
Yeah.
This day one for me, but it sounds like, you know, 4 or 5 people is what I've heard the last few days, but it varies.
Good
It
God.
goes up and down.
Thank you very much.
You have a good one.
Now that is what every American should take an example from that man right there. He's could be at home chilling and he's helping people. And what he says, what happens is like when the detainees come out, when they finally let them out, they just have like a bag and whatever they came in with.
Jail bag, and they've been taking their phones and their IDs, and you know, then you're asking for papers. So what do you do then? You know.
So how do they contact anyone to say I'm out if they have their phones?
We have
Oh,
to see 'em walk
I
in,
can't
we
believe
go
that
and
I-
go and get 'em,
wow.
Pick them up, bring them home, get them food, whatever they need. So
And if you weren't here, where would they go?
that's what I'm saying. That's why I should be thanking us, because that's another type of murder. Because this weather, you die in. So I don't know. It's a weird conundrum. That's all.
Thank you. Unbelievable. And
Minnesota Rebel Alliance logo.
600 police officers that we have are charged on any
That's a
given
9.5
day
minute video.
investigating crime, stopping homicides from taking place, preventing carjackings. That's the work of a police officer in a city. Meanwhile, we have ICE agents throughout our city and throughout our state who, along with Border Control, are creating chaos.
Police are so busy now
Oh,
responding to the mess ICE is creating, they're not able to be as responsive to the people they're supposed to serve. That's what they were just saying in those clips. Meanwhile, we continue to see daily examples of ICE agents using excessive force against civilians. We're seeing ICE agents brutalize both immigrants, suspected immigrants, and protesters.
Denial of
on the
aid to
streets
states on political
Minneapolis,
grounds.
tackling people, deploying tear gas, smashing windows, and pulling people out of cars. These are just some of the scenes. We've seen
Denial
ICE
of
agents get
aid
physical, even ripping phones out of the hands of citizens
American
trying to film their
territories.
activities. We've heard from a reported father of 6 who told Sky News that his children went to the hospital because ICE agents threw a tear gas canister underneath his car.
We have staff across.
We've seen videos like
ICE
this
illegally-
showing
hey,
overzealous.
shut
this
your mouth.
is not a political thing to them. This is about one of their
ICE illegally
coworkers.
detained
No
Minnesota
one's
City
been
worker,
taken.
a snowplow driver. He had every legal authorization, said boss. We do a criminal background check of all federal documents.
And he was detained by ICE purely based on his country of
fully authorized to work.
that he had a driver's license and he was
Department is rallying.
Here is Greg Bovino helpfully wearing his Nazi uniform on Fox News.
Showing his face, you know, he's the guy that will show his face because the rest of his minions won't. But Bovino will walk among.
Well, evil alien robot, for the moment, it's intended to just be a
America.
And here he is
repository
on, Fox
of
News.
grievances
We
against the
should say
state,
it's also
and
being reported, that the,
at least the executive ones I could bring against a
the
conservative and be
Minneapolis,
like,
shooter, that guy, Jeremy Ross, I
what do
was
you
his name,
think
right?
is worth all
yeah.
of this?
He
And
apparently
then we
told
can
his
just go
longtime
through the
neighbor
whole
that
thing.
He was a botanist, not
Oh,
an ICE agent for the past
Huh.
13 or
How do I
14
forget
years.
this?
They should be embarrassed, and they also should be worried about
It's called a violation of
Truth
law.
and Reconciliation Commission.
And Ken Klippenstein has some reporting on this that despite the public face, ICE agents internally are a little bit concerned.
Scared little boys. And they
One of the things
should
that I would also like for the
And they
U.S. if
should
I
be
was back in the
concerned.
U.S.
Yep.
is the right for states to leave or
Because,
secede the
we
Union.
will not
I
forget.
understand that we don't want to have another Civil War type thing with slavery, but just on its face, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No state can leave the Union without the assent of the other states. Because leaving the Union is not just like a free action of yourself, it is also harm to the other states. Because all the states depend on the participation of the other states. All the states entered into this pact knowing that. ICE came to my brother-in-law Sally's apartment, broke down the door, trashed the place, handcuffed him, and put a gun to his daughter-in-law's head. They did not allow him to put on proper clothing and forced him outside in freezing weather. Sally is a naturalized U.S. citizen. He has no criminal record. ICE drove him around for nearly an hour, questioned him, and fingerprinted him. Only after all of that did they realize he had no criminal history and no reason to be detained. They then dropped him back off at his apartment like nothing happened. We believe they were looking for someone who previously lived there, but instead of asking for identification, they chose violence, intimidation, and humiliation. What makes this even more painful is Sally's story. During the war in Laos, his mother, Nurse Choa Tao, helped a Lao woman deliver premature twins. The mother could not care for them. Choa took the boy, Sally, and one of her fellow nurses took the girl. Choa ensured all her children became naturalized U.S. citizens. She believed deeply in doing things the right way and protecting life, dignity, and family. To see her son treated like this in front of family with weapons drawn is beyond traumatic. This is not about politics. This is about basic human rights, due process, and accountability. No family should experience this. No child should witness this. And no U.S. citizen should be treated this way. Alleged denial of Sixth Amendment right to an attorney. ICE agents illegally enter private hallways of Eden Prairie apartment building, refused to show a warrant, and threatened a resident.
I want to describe for people what it is like in Minnesota right now for those who don't live here, for my friends, family, loved ones, but people who are just coming across this video. I am a suburban state senator. I live in Apple Valley. It is a suburb. I do not live in Minneapolis. This is not something that's just happening in Minneapolis. This federal paramilitary invasion and occupation is happening in communities across the state. So let's start here. ICE is not looking for specific people at specific addresses. They do not have like a sheet of paper that gives them a name and
Sorry,
an
I can't
address.
watch that whole video.
Oh my God.
Latest ICE shooting. Wow, that's terrible news to read. Hate to even like that headline being normal. Okay, well.
Great light.
I'm gonna wrap it up for the night. Uneventful evening, but it is a Sunday night. Or no, it's not. It's basically a Sunday night. Martin Luther King Jr. Day night. Feels like a Sunday, I guess. Alright. I'm No Nothing Attorney. I know nothing, so you can too. Because it's only in embracing that we know nothing that we can learn anything. That's what we're here to do every single day. And as always, I'm proud of you. I don't need to know you personally for that to be true. It is true, and you deserve to hear it. Is that how I normally approach that? Anyway, If only at a minimum because life is hard. It's always been hard and always will be hard. But the way you face each and every single day, the way you do, is remarkable. So stay remarkable, and I'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.